Here is the question. What are the various ways to communicate between the different components? When we have multiple components in a single page application, then many a times we have to do send and receive data and content from one component to another component. And sometimes we also call these communicating components as parent and child components. Now, what are the various ways Angular provides to communicate between these two components? For that, if we want to transfer the data from one component to another component, then we can use @input and @output decorators. These we already discussed in our previous questions. Now to transfer the content, we have few more techniques. First is ngContent. Second and third are viewChild and viewChildren decorators. And fourth and fifth are contentChild and contentChildren decorators. Now in upcoming videos we will see how this content transfer technique works in Angular. For now, this is the answer you can tell to anyone, whoever will ask you to tell the various way to communicate between the components. Here is the question. What is content projection? What is ngContent? If you remember, we can transfer data from one component to another component by using input decorators, right? But this is not data transfer. Here it is HTML will be transferred with the help of the content projection. As I prefer, let's look at the example first. Suppose we have this web page here for all the sports in the world. Here you can notice only title at the top and footer at the bottom are different for each sport, right? All other middle 3 lines HTML paragraph is same for all sports. And if we see the app component code for this web page, then here you can see we are repeating the code here many times. And if there are 100 sports and for big enterprise level applications, it will be a problem. And also as per the dry coding principle, repeating lines of code is not a good thing. So we will keep this common HTML lines at one place. Now we will just copy this div from here and paste it in another child component. You can create this child component by using the ngGenerate component command. I already created this sport child component here, and let me paste the copied lines. Now go back again to the parent component, and here the first thing is I will comment all the sports div. Then just place this app sport tag 3 times for each sports like this. App sport is nothing but the selector of the child component. So let me show you the child component we just created. This is its component file and this is the selector which we used in the app component HTML file. Now if I go back to the web page again, then alright, the HTML from the child component is reflecting for all the sports via the selector app sport tag. But here is a problem. All are same sports here. Where are like cricket and basketball title and footers are not visible here. So they are like variable HTMLs, right? They are varying for div to div. So how to manage these variable HTMLs in parent component? To resolve this problem, for that we have ngContent as a solution, which will project the variable HTML content. Okay, so now let's go back to the code. Here in the child component, we will comment the title and use ngContent as its replacement. Same we will do for the footer HTML content like this. Now when Angular will run, this ngContent will dynamically be replaced by the variable content which is present in the parent component. Let me just show you. Before that, one more thing, how Angular will know that this ngContent is for title and the below is for footer? For that, to differentiate, we will use the select and the class name with dot prefix with both title and footers. Now the difference is clearly visible. If you remember, we used this dot with class names, that why we use dot here also. So now the difference will there. Now let's go to the parent HTML component file and place the variable HTML title for football like this. So the ng content for title will be replaced by the ng this variable football, okay, and then variable HTML for the football footer, okay, and same we will do for the cricket and basketball. That's it. So the static content, the constant content is set in the child component, and the variable content, variable HTML is set here in the parent component. That's all. And now if we go to the browser and see, here is the expected same result and with the different code. And if we go back to the code, here you can see the new code of parent HTML is much cleaner and lesser than the previous code, right? So that is the difference. And if we say the definition of content projection and net ng content, the definition is the content projection or ng content is used when you want to insert the variable HTML content from child component to the parent component. So this is a one-liner kind of definition, and this is the answer of this question. If you have any queries, please ask me in the comment section. Here is a quick question. What is template reference variable in Angular? Let's see the code first. Here you can see I have an input and a button control. Now suppose I want to print the text inside this input on button click in the console. For that we can use template reference variable. The question is how? So first we will create one button click event like this, and then we will assign a template reference variable to this input field, which is input box like this. This hash input box is the reference variable of this whole input element. That's why it is called template reference variable. You can also think it like as an ID also. Now we will send the value of this template reference variable as the parameter of this newly created method. And at last, we will just call this method from the component TypeScript file. Here create the method which will receive the input value as the parameter, and then just log the received value in the console like this. Now if I go to the browser, and here in the input field I will write happy and press enter, then see the value will be printed in the console. So basically the use of template reference variable is, template reference variable in Angular is used to access all the properties of any element inside DOM. So like here we accessed the property of this input. Similarly, with the help of this template reference variable, we can access the properties of any element and any property, not just value, but any property we can access with the help of this template reference variable. This is the answer of this question. If you have any queries, please ask me in the comment section. Here is the question. What is the role of viewChild in Angular? As usual, let's see the example first. Suppose this is our app component HTML template file. Nothing fancy, just a login form with email, password and button controls. Now this is the component TypeScript file of the app component. Here we are using viewChild decorator just to access the email control with the help of this email ref, which is a template reference variable. And that's it. So the definition is, with viewChild we can access elements of HTML template file from the component TypeScript file. Now when to use viewChild? First case is when we want to access the HTML template elements of same component like this example. And second, when we want to access the template elements of child component. We will see the first case in this question. In the browser, we have this login form with email, password and a button. Now we want that when this form will load, then automatically the cursor should focus inside the login element and user can directly start typing. If now I will reload the page, then there is no focus on the email input and I have to click to put focus inside it, right? Now to put the focus automatically, we will use view child. Let's go to the code. Here in the HTML file, as I said, in order to use view child, we have to take the help of this email ref, which is a template reference variable, which we already discussed in the previous question. Now we will access this email ref from the component TypeScript file. Here, first declare a field email element ref, which will access the email ref of the HTML template file. Now we will use our view child decorator here, and inside the bracket we will put the name of the template reference variable of the email element like this. Okay, now whenever we declare a field or property like this, then we have to provide its data type and initial value of it, right? For example, it can be a string, number or whatever type. Similarly, this email element ref is of element ref type. This element ref is a class which is a type, and the initial value of this email element ref is undefined. Now here one very important thing you have to remember and which has been asked in interviews. We know there is an Angular component lifecycle, right? And all the elements will be ready by the end of the ng-on-init component hook, right? Now if we want to put the focus on the email input element, then first we have to make sure that the email input control is fully 100% ready by the ng-on-init hook. Okay, that we have to make sure that this email control is fully ready, and then only we should put the focus after ng-on-init hook, not during the ng-on-init hook, like after ng-on-init. Okay, otherwise there will be the conflict. If the control is not created fully and we are trying to put the focus on it, then there can be a problem. So what is the hook we will use after on-init to put the focus? And the hook is ng after view-init. So let's go to the code back to the code. And for that, first implement the after view-init interface, and then implement the ng after view-init method of the interface like this, and finally use the email element ref property and use the focus method like this. So it will put the focus on the input email. Now this email element ref is the wrapper only outside the actual element. See, if I hover over this element ref, this email element ref of this email element ref type, right? So if I will hover over this, then see, it's a wrapper around a native element inside of a view. So it's a wrapper. So to access the actual element, we have to use this native element property of it and then call the focus method. Now if I want to see the result, let's go to the browser. And here if I reload the page, then see, this email is automatically getting the focus. This is the first use case when we want to use view child to access the component HTML template element in the same component TypeScript file. Now in the next question, I will discuss the second case. And if you have any queries about this question, please ask me in the comment section. Here is the question: how to access the child component from parent component with view child? This is like another benefit of the view child decorator. In this case, suppose we have a child component and there is a method sent to parent inside it. And then we have the app component as the parent component. Now with view child decorator, we can call this method of the child component from the parent component. Now let me show you the same thing in the code. See, here I have already created a new child component. It has one method, send to parent, which is just returning a line. Now I will call this method from the parent app component. For that, go to the app component template file. Here, first step is to use the child component selector like this. So this is the selector of the child component. Now go to the app component TypeScript file. This already written code here is for the use of view child for the same component. So ignore it for now. We have already saw this in the previous question. Now in the similar way, we will create a property child component prop like this, and then use the view child decorator and then give the child component inside the bracket like this, and then set the static property to false. Now this static property is for setting the static and dynamic queries, which I will explain in some later questions, but not now. So now as usual, set the type class of this property. And what is the type of this property? Child component, yes. And the initial value is, again, it is undefined. Now inside the same lifecycle hook ng after view init, use the property name to call the method of the child component, and then log in the console like this. That's it. Now remember, this ng after view init can be used to get the results from the view child. So these two are like used together frequently. Now if I go to the browser, and here in the console you can see we are successfully able to call the child component method from the parent component. This is the answer of this question, and this is the another use of the view child decorator. If you have any queries, please ask me in the comment section and I will be very happy to answer, as my name is Happy. Here is a very important question. What is the difference between view child and view children? And what is query list? We already know view child. By using view child, we can access the element of the HTML template from the component TypeScript file with the help of this template reference variable and view child decorator. Now what is view children then? Remember the name, children means multiple child, right? So suppose here instead of one element we have multiple elements, and the name of their template reference variable is same of all these elements. Then view child will not be able to access all these three elements. For that we have to use view children here, and that is the difference. With view child, only one element can be accessed, but with view children, a list of elements can be accessed. Now let's see the view children code in action. Here in the code we have this app.html file. Here we will add two more elements here with the same template reference variable. Then we will go to the component file. Here we have used view child for the same component and the different component in the previous questions, right? Here we are using view child. Now we will use view children same as view child. See, here I declare view children property same as view child. Now I will just change two things. First I will give the property a new name, pretty simple. Then we know that this element ref class is a wrapper around a single native element. Single, remember single, which is okay for view child because view child deal with only one element, only one child. But for view children, we have to handle multiple elements of email ref now. So therefore, the type of the view children should be some list of element ref, right? Therefore, we will use this query list for iterating the list. So what is the query list? It is used to iterate this element ref list, basically to iterate the list of the elements. Now, how to use it? First, let's print both these properties in the console. Before that, let's comment this to avoid any distraction, the previous code. Now here I will print first the email element ref, which is view child, and then email element ref children, which is view children. Now let's go to the browser and see the console for the result. See, in the console here, view child, first one was view child. We have this single element ref, right? Inside which we have the native element. So basically by default it is the first element in the list. So view child is referring the first element in the list by default. It cannot refer more than one element from the list. Then query list is the result from the view children. And if I expand this, and you can see the length is 3, means 3 items here we have in the list. And if I expand this result, then here we have all of our 3 element ref. Now I can do anything with these elements. So this is the use of the query list and view children. Now for example, if I have to assign all these 3 elements a value like suppose 100, then how we will implement this? Let's go back to the code. Here first access the property and then use the for each loop to iterate all the elements in the list, and inside the loop first set the parameter item. This item is nothing but the reference of this only, okay? And finally with the help of the arrow operator, we will assign value 100 to each one of the item native element. So that's it, that's done. Now if I go to the browser again, then see all the elements value set to 100, and that is done with the help of the view children. So this is one way to use view children. There are other ways also, like you can just set the first element or you can just set the last element. So they are like different use cases of view children. This is all about the view children concept. If you have any queries, then please ask me in the comment section. Here is the next question. What is content child? Alright, so until now we have seen some ways to communicate between two components. For example, suppose we have a parent app component HTML file and then the app component class file, and as a second component we have child component HTML file and its component class file also we have. Now to transfer content from the same component HTML file to its component class file, we will use template reference variable and the view child decorator together. And also to transfer content from child component class file to parent component class file, we will again use view child decorator. And if you remember ng content from the previous questions, then it is used to transfer the variable content from the child component HTML file to the parent component HTML file. This variable content we also call sometimes as projected content. Remember this name, projected content. Now we have covered almost all content transfer techniques. But from one HTML component, component HTML to another component HTML we have covered. Then from one component class to another component class we have covered. Now what is the use of content child then? What content it will transfer? So content child will be used to send variable or projected content from one component HTML to another component class file. Remember, it is cross connection from HTML to class file. So previously we did for HTML to HTML, class to class, but now it is projected content from one HTML to component class file. This is the use case. Now we will implement the same in the code and we will see how we can implement content child. Here I have the same child HTML template file in the code, and we have used ng content here to set the variable content or projected content. Variable content means below here is the static content which is not going to change anyhow, but this ng content with this select s3 tag will be replaced by the s3 tag from the parent app component. So this line will replace the ng content of the child HTML which we have. Here you can see we have this football content, and if I will see in the browser, we have football here and the rest is same as the child HTML content. So this football is the ng content. It is the variable, or we can say the projected content. Now see this in the code, we can see this app, this file is this is app component HTML file. Now the main question is how to use content child to send this s3 football from here to the child component class file. Okay, this is the HTML app component file. So how to send it into the child component? First we will assign this element a template reference variable like this. Then let's go to the child component class file. Here, similar to view child, we will create a property and then set its decorator as content child, and then refer the same template reference variable inside it, and then set the type as element ref and set the initial value as undefined. Nothing serious here, same as we did for view child. Similarly, we will code for this content child also. Now if you remember, we used this ng after view init lifecycle hook method for view child, right? Similarly, we will use ng after content init for content child. Only then we will be able to access the content child. For that, as first I implemented the interface. First I here given the interface, inherited the interface, and then I have implemented the method of this interface, which is this ng after on init content init, ng after content init. Finally, inside this method we will use the console log to print the native element and its inner text. So inner text will be received from the app component HTML file, which should be football. And if I will go to the browser, in the console here, you can see the inner text will be has been printed as football here. So this is we did by using the content child. Back to the code. So the syntax is very much similar to the view child, only the life cycle hook is different. So finally the definition is content child is used to send projected content from one component HTML template file to another component class file. Okay, this is the answer of this question, and if you have any queries, then please ask me in the comment section. Here is the question. What is the difference between content child and content children? If you know the difference between view child and view children, then 99% it is same. Let me show you in the code. Here we have one projected content in the app component and inside this app child selector, right? Content child can handle only one element. It's similar to view child, only one element it can handle. Now if we have more elements here with same template reference variable like this, and we want to access them from another component class file, then for that inside the child component class file we will go first. Here I already commented this view child and view children, and this content child is not commented, just for reference. Now first we will create this content children property same as content child like this, and we will just assign this property a new name. And like we did for view children, similarly we will use query list here like this. You know, query list is used to iterate multiple items in a list. Now this property is a list of elements, right? It's not a single element, it's a list of elements. Single element is this content child, okay? Now we have to iterate this list inside the ng after content init hook method, same like we did for content child. To iterate, we will use the for each loop like we did for the view children decorator. Then pick one item at a time, and by using the console.log, we will print the item native element in a text like this. So this will print the final item. That's it. Now if I go to the browser, and here I can see in the console, the first element is of content child, right? And then the next three elements are of content children. So this is very much similar to the view children implementation of the view child. The conclusion and the difference is, the final difference is, content child is used to manage a single element and content children is used to manage the list of elements. This is the answer of this question. If you have any queries, please ask me in the comment section and I will be very happy to help. Here is a very important question for revision purpose. Compare ng content, view child, view children, content child and content children. It's a kind of buffet for you. Sometimes we have implemented something in past, but with time we forget the concept. So here we will revise all the concepts of content communication between two components. For comparison, we have ng content, view child, view children, content child and content children decorators. So let's start. First we will see the use case of all of these concepts. ng content is used to display variable content from child component to parent component HTML. Remember, it sends content from HTML to HTML. No component class is involved in ng content case. Then for view child decorator, it is used to send content from same component HTML template file to same component class file. And also it is used for content transfer from child component class file to parent component class file. So this is the use case of view child decorator. Then view children decorator is used same as view child decorator, but in addition it can handle multiple elements. View child can only handle single element, but view children can handle multiple elements. Then we have this content child decorator, which is used to send projected content from component HTML template file to another component class file. So this is the use case of content child. And similarly, content children decorator is used same as content child decorator, but in addition it can handle multiple elements again, same as view children is used of the view child. These are the ways in which we can use these decorators for content communication between two components. Here, except ng content, all other are decorators here. Now let's see for reference the code and the declaration code of all of these. Here you can see it's just for reference, which we already implemented in the previous questions. Now the next important point is template reference variable. If you see only ng content do not use template reference variable, all others are using template reference variable. Why? Because ng content is content transfer from HTML to HTML and there is no need of template reference variable in this case, but all other are decorators which are used in the component class file. That's why they are using template reference variables. Now here you can see this email ref is the template reference variable only in each of them. Now if we talk about the class type, then ng content again do not have any class type because it doesn't do anything with the class. It is only HTML to HTML transfer. But all other decorators must have some class type. Here if we see this view child have element ref as the class type, and element ref is nothing but a wrapper around a single element. It's not the actual element, it's the wrapper around a single element. Whereas view children has query list of is a query list of element ref as a type. So view children, as I said, is the list of the multiple elements. So list of the multiple element ref types. Okay. Now this content child operator, same as view child, use element ref as the type, and the content children, same as view children, use query list of element ref as the type. This is the answer of this question. I hope now you can relate and differentiate these concepts in a better way now. If you have any queries about this question, please ask me in the comment section and I will be very happy to answer them, as my name is Happy.